Mhm.
Okay, I want to briefly go over the agenda for this presentation. After this slide, I'm going to go over the first pattern that we recognize and then the anticipated root causes, followed by another pattern, significant pattern that we were able to see with another root cause. And then we're going to finish it up with the conclusion and key insights. Okay, I want to first go ahead and orient you to my graph. To the left, you will see the public graph, public construction by month. And obviously there from January to December. And that's to the left. And just to kind of give you the highs and lows, that's from, negative 7,500 at the minimum to the maximum, a little bit above 7,500. And to the right, you'll see the private construction by month, obviously from January to December as well. And looking at the min, it's a little bit below 20,000 and the max a little bit above 20,000. But a little bit more information going to the root cause of this, you'll see that the changes throughout the years indicate construction historically picks up in the summertime. So you'll see around the number 6 at the bottom, which is mid-year, around June, that it picked up for construction from 2002 to 2013. The left graph shows the public sector, obviously, and the right graph shows the private. But you will see that the private sector shows a lot more variations throughout the year, but nonetheless a consistent pattern. And I would say the root cause is that private construction is more sensitive to the overall U.S. economy. And as the graph indicates, a wider variation as compared to a little bit more conservative public government spending. It's not as volatile. Okay, on this graph, we got construction of a time series model. I went ahead and I added a regression line to it so you can see a little bit more clearly. But as you can see, it's both the private and public sector on one graph. The graph shows the trends and differences in spending between the public sector and private sector, like I said, on one graph. It's easier to spot a trend with a line regression as opposed to just looking at it with squiggly lines. The line shows a definite what is it doing. And you'll see the regression line show there's a decline in private spending and an increase in public spending, right? So you look from 2002 to right now, there's been, a decline in private and an increase in public. And the root cause of this can be a multitude of reasons, but I would suggest that available credit in the private sector has begun to tighten up. You'll see interest rates has recently risen as opposed to the need for infrastructure improvement in federal spending. So whenever there needs to be upgrades to the road, upgrades to buildings, you'll see an increase in that. And you'll see that the public sector tends to spend more whenever the private sector is not pumping as much money into the economy. All right, so in conclusion, we can discern that the private sector is more volatile and shows a simple trend that spreads a bit longer compared to the public sector. The graphs also indicate that the access to credit in the private sector has tightened up, thus the decrease in private sector spending from 2002 to a little bit over 2014. And the public sector, there is not as much money being spent on construction compared to the private sector total. Additionally, the public sector has been increasing construction spending from 2002 2013 due to, I would say, much needed domestic repairs. A fair assumption can be made that when the private sector spending is up, public sector will be down. Vice versa as a percentage respectively.